to hook up. You just don't know what's around the corner. So most of you, if not all of you, I've only saw 3 or 4 hands out of all of you that actually says, I've only got one thing that I've written down that's impossible. So is it true to then say that all of the majority in this room have written 3 weaknesses that is possible to change into an opportunity or an asset or a strength? Is this true? Isn't that interesting? I just want you to see it. It's very powerful. I want you to put up your hand if all 3 of your weaknesses can actually change. Isn't that interesting? So what do? How do you change that into a strength? You know, I have to tell you a frustrating story of mine. I was going to a business meeting, and I go into an airport, and my first plane gets delayed by an hour and a half. Then they tell us that it's at another gate. Then we go to that other gate, and then they say, no, it's actually at the other gate. I missed the flight. Then they said the next flight's in 20 minutes. Then we had to go to the other airport, and not the other airport, the other side of the airport. We get on this plane just. Then we're sitting on the plane for 20 minutes, and before we push back, the right engine catches on fire. We have an emergency. Everybody's off board. I'm late for my engagement. I call my friends and said, I'm so sorry, I won't be able to make it. The next flight's in 20 minutes. So we go into another plane. It's my 4th opportunity, my 4th flight. You know what happens? I'm so frustrated. I don't understand why this has happened. And I sit next to a lady, and the lady's crying and crying and crying. I said, hi, my name's Nick. Is there anything that I can help you with? I said, you know, if you're afraid of flying, you can hold my hand if you want. And she laughed a little bit. She said, I'm actually going to visit my daughter who's dying in a hospital right now. I said, I'm so sorry. So we talked a little bit, and I did my best to encourage her. And I prayed with her, and I don't know what effect at all, if that had on her. But I hope at least a little bit of encouragement somehow was put into her heart that day. And I realized that I was thankful that I missed the other 3 flights to sit next to her. See, I don't believe there are ever mistakes. I don't believe that there's ever luck, chance, or coincidence that you're here today, that you're listening to me, and that I'm here today because I'm being blessed to be here. But I'll tell you something. In your life, when we're talking about thriving or surviving, here is the bottom line. Love, joy, and peace. You can have arms and legs, but no peace. You can have billions of dollars, but no peace. Peace comes from knowing the truth of your value, the truth of your purpose, and the truth of your destiny. And when you understand this, then you also understand the value, the meaning of today. You just don't know what your smile or your communication of a simple thank you can do for someone today. You do not know who you might sit next to encourage that day. You do not know the person you're sitting next to might be your next investor for your next opportunity. So when you're looking at today, everybody say today. You can't have yesterday again. You know that tomorrow is not promised. You have today. Here is the scary question. Here is the sobering question. Right now, it is Wednesday, February 9, 7:09 p.m. Let's say you have 4 hours, 50 minutes, and 39 seconds to live. You have 4 hours, 50 minutes, and now 10 seconds to live. sorry? Did someone ask me a question? No, you're on the phone? Okay. Just checking. No one understands? Sorry? Proceed? Okay. Oh! Okay. Well, I was just about to make my point. But that's fine. But the point wasn't made yet, so I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you got it. Okay, so here we go. It's alright, just listen to me. Ready for this? If you had 4 hours and 50 minutes now to live,
Yes.
would your loved ones know that you love them? Who would you want to be next to? Who would you call? Who would you say sorry to? All of a sudden, if I say you have 4 hours and 50 minutes to live, you don't actually care about your obstacles changing it into an opportunity. All of a sudden, you're not really worried about changing your weaknesses into strengths. Because all of that actually was going towards a specific goal. And it's totally fine if you have a specific goal in mind. But in my life, in your life, no matter what you achieve in your life, the greatest thing of all are these 3 things that you wrote down that are most valuable to you. For me, it's your faith, it's your family, and it's your mission. Whether you ever achieve your goal in your life, if you don't have love, joy, and peace, and the meaning and purpose of life overall, then you will be poor on the inside. For me, I'll never ever forget, in 2008, I spoke in front of 350 bankers. And there was one man who came up and cried on my shoulder. And he said, Nick, I lost 45% of my portfolio within 3 days. I own 3 banks. And he said, but that's not my problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, my 14-year-old baby girl, my daughter, can't look herself in the mirror and see beautiful. How poor of a man. It's not about your goal in the end. It's about this. Let me tell you a funny story. You ready for a funny story? There was a man sitting on the beach drinking, and I know you don't drink alcohol here, but it's not a joke from here. So maybe it was, you do the, what do you call it, shisha. Cool? Yeah, you do? Okay, so let's say that this guy's sitting on the beach and he's smoking shisha, and so he's sitting on the beach. Here's the joke. You ready for this? This guy's sitting on the beach smoking his shisha, and this guy has no shoes. He's sitting down. It's a beautiful day. He's watching the waves and the birds and blah blah blah. All right, so here it is. A businessman comes in his suit and he says, "Who are you?" He said, "Doesn't matter who I am. I'm just sitting here, just relaxing and smoking my shisha." He said, "Well, what are you doing? I mean, seriously, what a waste of life." He said, "What are you talking about, a waste of life?" He says, "Well, I'm just relaxing." He says, No, I mean, why didn't you go to school?" He says, "For what?" He said, "To get an education." He said, "For what?" "To get a job." "For what?" "To then, work your ways up the ranking, become a CEO, and maybe own a business or 2. He says, "For what?" "So you can earn lots of money." "For what?" "So then, you can have holidays on the beach and smoke shisha." said, what do you think I'm doing? Now, the motto of this story is not for you not to get an education or have a job or become a CEO, become an owner of a couple businesses. The motto of this story is this. You can be a power of influence whatever you do in your life. But everybody has a different purpose. But the main thing is the main thing, that's the main thing, which is the main thing. To make sure that you understand your love, joy, and peace doesn't come from money, doesn't come from position. And when you have money, yeah, you can supply your family and kids with education and so on and so forth. But make sure you understand this. You can make a house so big, but when you do that, don't forget to make it a home. My friend, he lost 85% of his wealth in 1 week. And it was his first Christmas and first end of year that he never gave a gift to his son. And he came up to his son crying, "Son, I am so sorry. I can't get you what I normally get you, and I haven't gotten any gift for you." And he said, "Dad, this has been the best year of my life." He said, "What are you talking about? I failed you." He said, "Dad, you haven't failed me. This is the first Christmas that I actually have a father, because you've been busy and busy and busy, but now you're home. Don't forget to make your house a home." I was worried about how am I going to hold my wife's hand. You don't need hands to hold her heart. And when I was worried about how I'm going to hold my kids when they're crying, I was at a family gathering, and this 2.5-year-old girl was so cute. She was about my height. She was hugging everybody goodbye. She wanted to hug me goodbye. And she looked at me, and she's thinking, how is she going to hug me when I have no hands? So she puts her hands behind her back, and she walks up to me, and she hugs me with her neck. Isn't that beautiful? When you take one step at a time, you don't know what you can achieve until you try. When you fail, you try again. Change your obstacles into opportunities. You will always learn more in the valley than the mountain. You will always learn more on a bad day than a good day. Principle D, what was Principle D?
Be thankful.
Be thankful. Be thankful for today. Be thankful you can love. Be thankful for the family that you have. Be thankful that you can learn from the mistakes of before. Be thankful that you can move forward today. Just be thankful. For me, and in closing, there's going to be a couple more points I just want to bring to closure. I will never forget, 5 years ago, I was speaking in front of a crowd of 3,000 people, and I looked out to the crowd, and I saw a little boy with no arms and no legs. And I couldn't believe what I saw. I looked at him, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like, man, you and I, we're going to wrestle later on. The father brought him up on stage, and you could hear a pin drop. No one was breathing. Everybody was seeing me up on stage and a little boy, 19 months old, with a little foot, no arms and no legs. I can't describe to you how it felt when his mother hugged me crying, saying, "Nick, I've been praying to God for a sign that He's told me that He hasn't forgotten me or my son." I can't describe to you how it felt when I saw my mom hug his mom. I can't describe how it felt when I saw my dad hug his dad. The first chapter in my book, it's titled, "If You Can't Get a Miracle, Become a Miracle." You remember when I was here and I wanted to commit suicide at age 10, And if I only saw the other example who was 20 years old, who's gone through what I've gone through, who's felt what I'm feeling, and he says everything's going to be okay, that would have changed my life. I didn't get that miracle. But now I can be the miracle for this little boy. And this little boy started watching videos of me swimming, and at 2.5 he started speaking, swim like Nick, swim like Nick. And now he swims. And now he rides with his foot. And now he goes to school. His doctors told his parents, oh, your son's never going to walk. And then his doctors saw me. They said, oh, he's going to walk. I love it. When the clouds in your storm do not part, you can still carry someone else through their storm. Are you fighting a noble cause? Standing up to do something right that seems impossible? Let's say you never, ever achieve your goal. Who have you affected along the way for the positive? This is the question. In my life, I am happy to say that I would do my life all over again, no arms and no legs, if I can only affect one person's life. One person comes up to me in this room nearly exactly 12 months ago when I was here and said, Nick, I'll never ever be the same again. Nick, another person said, Nick, you saved my life. I was this close to giving up. Now I know I'm still here for a reason. That's why I have my motivation in understanding what today means. What can you do today? Do I need to motivate you to tell you that there has never been so many hungry people in the world, ever in the history of the earth? There's never been so many hungry people as there are today. 1 billion people are going hungry today. Do I have to motivate you to tell you about HIV, AIDS around the world? Do I have to motivate you to tell you that there are more and more orphans happening in developing countries? Do I tell you that I was in Liberia and I met the president of Liberia, and in front of 10,000 people who believed in a tribal belief that if there is someone who is born with a disability, that they should be buried alive because they're a curse and they will curse the village. So one woman, talk about courage, walked through the 10,000 people crowd. She came up on stage holding her baby who was not born with hands. And everybody was like, how come that baby hasn't been killed yet? I kissed the baby, I prayed for the baby. Since then, not one disabled child has been killed in that town. Why? Why? Because they don't know the truth. No one knows any better until they find that better. And if we don't tell them the truth, then who will tell them the truth? This is the question I have for you. What do you want to do in your life? What legacy do you want to leave behind? We say, well, we're only one voice. Well, 2 voices are stronger than 1. And 3 voices are stronger than 2. And so on, and so on. How did I begin what I do? I saved $20,000 to go on my first international trip. And I went to Africa. And I gave $20,000 to an orphanage and raised another $20,000 for people in need. I want to clothe the naked. I want to feed the hungry. Our ministry of Life Without Limbs, we help bring wheelchairs. This is Madame Yvette Isaac, and she has helped me to come to the Middle East and back in 2008, the first place I went to was Egypt. And she came out here in Kuwait last year as well. And we have together delivered wheelchairs. We've wanted to make a difference somehow, somewhere. I want to ask you, what difference do you want to make? You know what I did? I put a picture of an orphan next to my mirror. So every day I wake up and I look myself in the mirror, I see the orphan. And I know what goal I'm working towards. I know that I just want to make a difference in one person's life. If I only made a difference in Daniel's life, then it's all worth it. If I was born without arms and legs just to speak to you today, just to you, not 1,500 times or engagements, 4 million people face to face, crowds as large as 110,000. Put all that away. Just now. Now. Not knowing what you're going through. Seeing some of you cry. Seeing some of you want to cry. See some of you smile. See some of you have a light again in your eyes. That makes it worth it for me. And I want to tell you I love you. And I believe in you. And I believe you're here for a reason. And so I want to thank you so much for your attention tonight, your participation. And I hope today you will value the things you value. You will tell the people you love that you love them, that you appreciate them. Because everybody needs that. Everybody. I want to tell you, even if you're here, you're still here. So if you're still here and you're breathing, just turn around. Just take one day at a time. Remind yourself of what I've shared tonight. And never give up. There is always hope until you give up. Some people, they say, I can't go on. At 10 years old, if I knew that I was going to meet little Daniel with no arms, no legs, you know what I would have said? I can't afford to give up. Is your goal worth fighting for? Yeah. You may not ever see the fruit of your labor. Don't give up on your teenagers. When you plant seeds of love and encouragement and you don't see anything changing, and teenagers, don't give up on your parents. Everybody needs change, hope, encouragement, and love. But a farmer, their mission is not to watch with the microscope something come up from a seed. The farmer's job is to plant the seeds. Plant the seeds. Plant the seeds. Plant the seeds. Some seeds may never sprout. Some seeds may be picked up by birds. But you just keep on planting those seeds. That's what my parents did for me. That's what you're going to do for yourself. That's what you're going to do for the person sitting next to you. That's what we've got to do for the world. Plant seeds of possibility and hope into people's lives. Once you discover the truth of your value, and the truth of your purpose, and the truth of your destiny, then you are truly living a life without limits, where you have love, joy, and peace. Am I happy all the time? Do I still go through ups and downs? Ups and downs, ups and downs. All the time. My last point. Life is always an uphill climb. But the higher you climb, the more you see. So take one step at a time. Build yourself up. And never give up. Thank you very much. We only have maybe 5 minutes of questions and answers. So if you give me quick questions, I'll give you quick answers. Would you like some questions and answers? Yes? If you have a question, just put your hand up. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Did you learn something?
Yes.
Did it bring value to your life?
Yes.
Good. So make sure you go to attitudesaltitude.com. My book's there. I see many of you know English quite well, and DVDs. I really encourage you to get that as well for your family. So, question, just put your hand up if you have a question. Please. There are no questions, we will go to the next thing. But if you have a question, please put up your hand. Okay, yes? Hi. Yep.
Are you crying? Are you crying?
Very good question. The question was if I had an opportunity to have robotic arms and legs or prosthetics, would I take them or not? At age 6, we actually tried to do it, but at that time already learned how to write with my foot, type with my foot, and they were heavy, so that actually restricted me more than anything. Are there great technologies out there today that's lighter and better? Yes. Do I feel like I need them right now? No. Maybe later on in life, maybe when I get married and so on. But right now I have 3 fantastic caregivers. Nate's one of them. They work 10 days a month. They rotate, and so they look after my physical needs and travel with me. So right now I'm pretty content with what I have. We'll see as technology, I'm only 28. So man, 20 years from now, what could be out there? I have no idea. Am I holding my breath? No, I'm content. So thank you so much for the question. Yeah. If you have a question, just raise your hand and a microphone can come to you actually. Yeah, just raise your hand. How old was I when I? Yeah, started speaking in my first school. I was 17 when I started speaking as a speaker, correct? Yeah, 17. And then it really though started at 19. So couple tries here and there. Thank you. Someone at the back has a microphone. Yes, hello?
Yes. What is the best technique to motivate oneself?
For me, I get motivated by my faith in God. The second turning point that I had was when I read that there was a man who was born blind and no one knew why he was born that way, but it was done so that the works of God would be revealed through him. And so that's what changed my life. If God had a plan for a blind man, then God has a plan for me. And even things that don't make sense, we know that he's always with us. So that helped me a lot. That's my greatest motivation. Thank you very much. Up the very back, yes sir.
There is a lot of negative people. So how do you deal best with them?
That's a really good question. Unfortunately, you can't really change somebody's heart. You can't really always block their voice or their influence on you. Be careful with how much you spend with them. Not to say you don't want to spend any time with negative people, because you can actually be a positive influence to them. With wisdom and discernment, feel your way. See what they want out of you. But be very careful with how many of those negative people you have in your life, because you'll always be finding that they're always dragging you down, So be careful with how much time you spend with those people, and hey, look, can you not be so negative around me? Like, why don't you see the positive? Maybe show them a video of me and say, stop complaining, and then come back to me. I don't know, something like that, Maybe 2 more questions, because I was told we only had 5 minutes, so.
Hello. How well were you doing in school? How well were you doing in school?
How well was I doing at school? Is that what the question was?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was looking at the back. How? You mean academically? You want to know my marks at my school? Literally in high school, this sounds ridiculous, but I did an accounting degree, but I failed accounting the first time around in high school as a subject. So I don't know why I did accounting, but I got through it. I didn't get HDs or Ds. I don't know if you know what that is. I didn't get top marks. You know, I passed. I didn't like studying at all, and so I didn't like reading. But I like speaking, and so, you know, I got through my degree, but it's funny how when you go through your degree, you actually learn more when you come out of the degree, as far as the things that you study in practical things, you know, you learn more. So I didn't do, you know, great. There's my answer. Last question, I'm so sorry. You know what? Wait, I know we're going to fight now. But we have 8 questions right now. I do want to hear from this man there as well. Just a couple rows behind this last question. Yes?
Yeah, my question is, you start your first speech at the age of 17.
Yeah.
Did you know you're going to achieve what you achieved today so far at the age of 28?
No, I had...
all of this?
No, I had no idea. Not that quick. Maybe after 40 years of speaking, maybe get to 30,000 invitations, maybe, but yeah, not this quick. I would like to choose this man about 4 rows behind. Yes, this man here. And this is, I'm so sorry, this will have to be the last question because I have a plane to catch tonight, and I'm not flying it, so they can't wait for me.
First, I want to thank you for this nice lecture, and my question was, how did you improve your speaking?
Very good.
And come to this level of encouraging people.
Yep. I started with notes, I started with trial and error, and every time I spoke, I got better. Every time I would speak, I would rehearse in my head everything that I said. I would start to read the audience when they're fidgeting, when they need a little bit of humor, when they need something more content, if they need something, you know. So I learned as I went along. I did have a speaking coach though. At age 24, I had a speaking coach for 18 months. And so he taught me on presentation, volume, pace, pitch.